Thank you so much. It's great to be back at Happy Valley Pride. I've been here every year since the first one. I'm proud to come back because this is what Pride is all about. Grassroots community. So Happy Valley Pride, are you happy? Are you proud? We have a lot to be proud of. We've made huge progress in the last 2 decades, but there are still battles to fight and win. So just for a moment, we're going to pause the celebration and talk about some of those battles we have still yet to win. Way back in 2018, the then Conservative government promised to ban conversion therapy. We are still waiting. The Labour Party, in its election manifesto, promised the conversion practices would be banned. Here we are, 1 year after Labour's election. There's no draft bill, no timetable, nothing. We are still waiting. And while we wait, LGBT plus people are still being abused by these conversion practices. Some of them involve psychological pressure. Some of them involve exorcisms. In a small number of cases, they involve physical beatings. These practices are damaging. They're harmful. They're causing suffering. And while Labour hesitates, people in our community are enduring pain and anguish. I appeal to Keir Starmer, honour your promise. You said you'd ban conversion practices. Let's have them banned by this time next year at the very latest, and preferably a draft bill in the autumn. We're also enduring increasing attacks upon the trans community by a Labour government. Wes Streeting has made the ban on puberty blockers for young trans kids permanent. He said they're unsafe, dangerous, and have to be stopped. So he's blocked them for young trans people. But Wes Streeting has not blocked puberty blockers for non-trans kids with early onset puberty. For many decades in this country, young kids who have premature puberty get prescribed puberty blockers. It's worked, it's safe, it's reliable. If it's safe for non-trans kids, why is it unsafe for trans kids? It shows the government is lying when it says puberty blockers are unsafe. So we've got to see that ban lifted so that young trans kids can have puberty blockers which are proven to enhance the quality of their lives. And they are, in that case, reversible if people change their minds. We also have the Supreme Court ruling, which Keir Starmer has said provides clarity. It does not provide clarity. The Supreme Court says that sex means biological sex. But the Supreme Court never defined what biological sex is. Biological sex is a constellation of different factors. Yes, chromosomes, but also genitals, reproductive capacity, hormones, secondary sex characteristics, and even brain structures. These characteristics are possessed by most trans women who've had hormone treatment and gender reassignment surgery. They are not possessed by some trans women. Some non-trans women. Some non-trans women do not have all these biological characteristics. So again, the government is muddled. It's confused. it needs to get its act together. Moreover, how are trans people supposed to go out in public when there's now uncertainty over which toilets they can use? It's monstrous to say that, as the Equality and Human Rights Commission has suggested, that trans people should not be using any public toilets. There was an earlier version which said that trans men should use women's toilets. Imagine how non-trans women are going to feel when a trans man with a beard walks in. Not very safe, not very comfortable. Equally, imagine how men are going to feel if a trans woman walks into a men's toilet. That's going to make them much more liable to abuse, threats, and perhaps even sexual assaults. So you can see that this policy does not make sense. It's not practical, and it's not achievable. The other big thing about the Supreme Court ruling is that the Supreme Court judges, listened to submissions from anti-trans groups. Anti-trans groups were able to give submissions to the Supreme Court before it made its ruling. But trans organizations were not. Indeed, Victoria MacLeod, one of Britain's very senior judges, a trans woman, specifically applied to give evidence to the Supreme Court, and she was refused. How fair is that? It's not fair at all. The Supreme Court would never make a ruling on race issues without hearing from black organizations. But they made a ruling on trans issues without hearing from trans organizations. That is shameful. Shame on the Supreme Court. To our trans friends, we stand with you. We will always stand with you against the toxic culture wars you are enduring. We are on your side. We will be on your side until you eventually win. And mark me, trans people will win in the end because they have right and justice on their side. So join me in saying 3 times, trans rights are human rights. 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 Now for something local. My Peter Tatchell Foundation, for the last 2 years, have appealed to chief constables across Britain to apologise for past homophobic, biphobic and transphobic perchance. So far, 21 chief constables have said sorry and introduced new, progressive, pro-LGBT plus policies. And why did they do this? Because in the past, the police didn't just enforce anti-gay laws, they enforced them in an often illegal, abusive, and sometimes even violent way. Same-sex couples were arrested for merely kissing, which was not a crime. Gay bars and clubs were raided. You remember, some of you may remember, the raid on the Gemini Club in Huddersfield all those years ago. Police storming in, abusing the patrons. That kind of thing went on all the time, all over the country. People who questioned the police's authority to do these illegal acts were themselves abused, sometimes beaten up by the police, and sometimes arrested. So an apology is well overdue. But one of the forces that has refused to apologise is your West Yorkshire Police. West Yorkshire Police, the Chief Constable, has ignored 2 letters requesting an apology. If 21 other Chief Constables, including London and many others, can say sorry, why won't West Yorkshire? It is time that they said sorry. We know that today West Yorkshire Police are supportive of our community. But for those who endured suffering at the hands of West Yorkshire Police in decades past, at the very least, they deserve an apology. An apology would help draw a line under that past suffering and signal that we can have confidence, or greater confidence, in the police today. The final issue I want to address is the biggest failure of the LGBT plus community worldwide. There is one issue the LGBT plus movement does not address, never has addressed, and even now does not address. They express solidarity with LGBTs in Uganda, in Russia, in Ukraine, in Pakistan, but not solidarity with Palestinian LGBTs. Shame. We know right now Israel is engaged in the mass indiscriminate killing of civilians. Over 58,000 people killed in Gaza by Israel, most of them women and children. Over 120,000 Gazans maimed, left permanently disabled by Israeli bombardments. And some of those people are LGBT. Some of those people killed or wounded by Israeli bombardments are LGBTs. And of those 15,000 children killed by Israel, some of them would have grown up to be LGBT, but they had their life cut short from the outset. That's an issue we have to address. Among the people suffering in Gaza are LGBTs. But they're not just suffering because of Israel's indiscriminate mass killing. They're also suffering at the hands of Hamas, a tyrannical, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic dictatorship. Today, the recent poll shows that only 6% of people in Gaza support Hamas. And those who protest against Hamas are beaten, tortured, and executed. A young 22-year-old man, Odai Arubai, was beaten to death by Hamas with iron bars because he criticized their tyranny. And he is just one of many. In the last few days, 3 Palestinian journalists have been badly beaten by Hamas for daring to report their crimes against Palestinian people. So, when we look specifically at LGBTs in Gaza, LGBT plus organizations are banned by Hamas. LGBT plus events like Pride are banned by Hamas. Advocating LGBT plus rights is banned by Hamas. In Hamas-controlled Gaza, LGBT plus people have no rights and live in great fear. They are arrested, tortured, and in the past have sometimes been executed. Where is the global outcry? Where are the LGBT plus organizations speaking out against these crimes against Palestinian LGBTs? At London Pride on the 5th of July, my foundation marched in solidarity with Palestinian LGBTs. We criticized Hamas's persecution of LGBTs. Do you know not a single LGBT media outlet in the world publicized that protest? Not one. We sent it to every media outlet on the LGBT plus list in every country in Europe, Australia, North America, Britain, and several other countries. Not a single word about that. How come we'll see news stories exposing the persecution of LGBTs in Uganda, but not in Palestine? That's double standards. That's double standards. LGBTs in Palestine are some of the most persecuted in the world and the most deserving of our support and solidarity. So I'll just finish by saying queer liberation is for everyone, everywhere, in every country. We cannot be selective. We have to stand with LGBTs in every country in solidarity with their fight for freedom. We have to stand with them until everyone, everywhere, is free and equal. In order to make homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia history. To ensure that queer freedom is universal and that LGBTs everywhere can live in peace, security, and equality. One thing I'm sure, history teaches us, LGBT plus liberation has been long delayed, but it cannot and will not be denied. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Happy Valley Pride.